Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Real Work Show. We've got another exciting interview for you today. This is the lightning round. We're going to be interviewing my buddy, Greg Hemmings. We go way back, and we're going to be talking to him about work in film. Hi, Greg.
Mark, how you doing, man? It's been a long time, but it's so good to see you again.
It's been a quarter of a century, if my math.
A quarter of a, how did we get there? A quarter of a century.
I think
ahead by a century, Mark. Ahead by a century.
Props for the tragic we have. Absolutely. Little Canadiana there. So for those of you that are familiar with the Real Work Show, what we're doing is hosting conversations with people that have found that intersection between their passion and their talents, people that actually love their work. It's been super interesting as I've reached out to different people about interviews. It kind of reaffirmed the purpose of the show because some people said, love the idea for the show. I can't stand my job. So we're hoping that, in particular, if you've got some interest in film, we're hoping this conversation with Greg helps you. Again, this is the lightning round, so we're going to fire 15 questions in 5 minutes. Greg is going to sweat profusely and try and give answers.
Am I ever? I'm even going to turn the baby monitor off so we don't hear baby crying in the background. There we go.
Fantastic.
We're ready.
Fantastic. For those of you that are not familiar with Greg, not only is he one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet, but he's a public speaker. He's a film producer and director. He's creating films that are sparking positive social change. He's involved in a lot of different things: podcasting, writing. Super interesting guy. There will be links on these YouTube videos so that you can learn more about him. But highly encourage that. Greg's a really interesting guy, and we're excited to have his time today. Thanks, Greg.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
I'm going to start the clock. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay. Your age when you first got interested in film?
Well, that's easy. That was 17 years old. I was in grade 11.
Okay. So you've chosen to start your own film company instead of, for example, working as an employee for a larger company. Has that been more difficult to you?
No, not at all. If you are a creative person or an entrepreneurial person, you can identify with the fact that it's very difficult to be an employee. So there's certain brains that can be good for working for others, and other brains are really good for working for themselves.
Right.
For a bunch of reasons, strengths and weaknesses all at once. But I got to tell you, starting as an employee in film, I did not like it at all. But being the boss, in a way, in a context that is fruitful, has been awesome.
Okay, very cool. How powerful would you say film is in terms of its ability to spark positive social change?
Well, there's nothing more powerful, in my opinion, to convey ideas emotionally than storytelling. And storytelling in the film format is incredibly effective. The whole saying about a photograph is equal to 1,000,000 words, or 1,000 words. Well, I would say just multiply that by 29.97 frames, and that's how much more effective film is. It's an incredible way to connect with people's hearts because it's human to human. The visual sense is an incredibly powerful sense, and that's what we serve.
Awesome. What's the first film that you personally produced?
The first significant film that I produced was called Revolve, and it was a film about the very first Evolve Music Festival. So it was a music documentary, but it was the beginning of a very fun career in making music documentaries for the first half of my independent career.
Very cool. How important has traditional formal education been in terms of your work in film?
I started at university, UMBSJ, for 1 year. It felt like an extension of high school for me. I was taking arts. So I left it and I found my way to film school, which was at a technical college. So it was very hands-on, shooting with real old school film. And so sure, we get to learn how to make films. They're awesome. I could have done that on my own as well. However, meeting other people who are on the same learning journey as yourself is an incredible asset that only school or college or university can give you. And it can teach you how to continue to learn. And that's what I appreciate about post-secondary. And I highly encourage it for if you've got the brain for it, it's definitely worth doing it.
Very cool. How important has travel been in terms of inspiring your work projects?
I just wish every kid right out of high school could take a year and travel the world. I know in COVID days, it's a whole different scene, but those of us who have the privilege of traveling have been able to see the world and humanity in a different way. And I think that's so important in building empathy. And as a filmmaker, storyteller, it's all about building empathy. But when you get to see how people live in other cultures and other places and then help share their stories of the world, it's incredibly gratifying. Yeah, and everything to do with my documentary love comes from my travel experiences.
Wow. How do you measure success in producing a positive social change film?
It's really interesting because finding actual data to show that your film made an impact, it's difficult. You have to be really planned at the very beginning to make sure you know the change that you want to see and what are the benchmarks to measure on the way. It's critically important to have that in mind before starting making the film. Is what is the change we want to see and how are we going to measure it?
Right. Okay. Who or what do you personally look to for inspiration?
You know, nature, of course, like right here is the Kennebecase River where it connects with the Wolastoq River. I get so much inspiration from that river that we have in New Brunswick. So nature, yes. My kids, oh my gosh, are such inspiring little things, and I just love them so much. But I get a lot of energy out of them. But really, I just get inspired by seeing other artists do their thing well. You know, like that's huge for me. So I'd say my kids, my family, nature, and then other artists who are just, digging what they're doing. You know, that gets me going.
Awesome. What's a typical entry level job in film and something that you performed personally?
Yeah, well, a production assistant is an amazing way to get onto a film set, and that could be everything from getting coffee for the writer team or the producers, or helping out on set by lugging gear. It is the best way to get in. It's everything in the title, production assistant. You are assisting anyone in the production process to help them thrive at their job.
Can you name a film that you watched recently that impacted your personal beliefs?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Impacted my personal beliefs. Yeah, lightning round. You stumped me on this one.
Take your time, Greg, and we can edit this.
No, yeah, it's okay. I'm just trying to think about a film. I just feel like there's, yeah. You stumped me on this one because and now I'm challenged. But I want you to keep this in. It's okay. I'm challenged here because I wonder if I've been consuming a lot of films that are within my own bubble of my own worldview, right? Because I feel like, well, okay, Michael Moore's last movie, Fahrenheit 11/9. Yeah, did you see it, Mark?
I haven't seen it. No.
It was interesting because Michael Moore is always seeking some sort of truth, and but you always assume that Michael Moore is a Democrat and was pining for the Obama days, and in the film, it really shows a dark side of the Obama administration, and I know that Michael Moore's films are always very very one-sided, and there's multiple sides to tell the stories that Michael Moore tells. But that film did open my eyes a little bit to the fact that I should be careful not to just assume all Democrats are right and all Republicans are wrong. I don't think that right now anyway. But it was I think that's the closest answer I could give you is Fahrenheit 11/9, which was Michael Moore's last film about a year and a half ago.
Very cool. Greg, I got good news for you. You survived the lightning round.
Well, I mean, you did have a bit of a stumper there, but it was a good one.
You were briefly wounded, but you recovered.
I recovered, but you also helped me think about maybe I should start watching films that I know from the beginning are probably not in line with my current worldview. So thank you for that, Mark.
Hey, Greg. So for those of you that are familiar with the show, we always do an extended interview, which we're about to go into with Greg. This will definitely be a topic of conversation because it's an interesting one. It's making me think as well. But in terms of a lightning round, the intention of this format is for those of us that have a low attention span. So we've learned a whole bunch of interesting things about film and your experience just from those 15 short questions. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Awesome. We're going to jump into the extended interview. Thanks very much. Be sure to subscribe and check out additional interviews. Thank you.